All right, and we're back.
Sweet.
So we just talked about, bumps, bruises, injuries in a fight camp, right? How did you schedule your fight camp? Did you have a coach schedule it for you? And now when it comes to fighters, how is that different for the way that you create a fight camp for them?
My fight camps at the time, I had Mitch Short actually as my strength and conditioning coach. So he would train me 3-4 days a week, which was amazing training. I had Barry as my boxing coach at the time, and I would just, a lot of it too was like creating my own schedule and sticking to it and writing down what I was going to do for the camp and doing it. How we do camps now, a lot of our, like if you look at someone like Ethan Harrod who's in a camp right now, he's in the gym hitting all of the top classes that he needs to hit, and then the 2 MMA classes. So you can get a good fight camp out of doing a lot of our classes just with a little bit of detailed extra work and a couple days a week with specifics from the coach. So fight camps can be done. Man, if you're in here training 6 days a week, you're going to get ready to fight. If you're showing up if you're in here for MMA, you're doing the Wednesday morning MMA, the Thursday night MMA, you're rolling in the no-gi classes, you're getting your extra strength and conditioning work in, you can get a good camp in. Same thing for Muay Thai. If you're in here on Bill Boland's Friday nights, if you're hitting the boxing classes, if you're sparring on Tuesday nights, you'll be good to go, right? Like you can get it done in here during the classes. Those that do extra privates with coach, they're just going to get a little extra better and with the extra pad time.
And you didn't mention running. I know, is that kind of an older school philosophy of you got to be out there running, you have to do your zone 2, zone 3 cardio?
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in running is huge, but a lot of people have dialed it back a bit where, here's the thing. If you're doing like swimming, which is like another low impact kind of cardio, I do think you need to have a lot of sprint work in your camps. So sprinting is huge, getting sprints, sleds, that explosive work. But I think the strength and conditioning has gotten so much more advanced and detailed and smarter that you don't need to run as much as like I think you were running before. Whereas in my fight camps, I was running 4 to 5 days, doing 10K runs 4 to 5 days a week. I think a lot of that has changed. I'm not a huge promoter anymore in forcing guys to run. I do think, running 3 to 4K a couple days a week is good. But if you're swimming and doing laps, I think that's just as good. But I think, with the impact on the body, those long runs, I think that's something good earlier on in your career to get your cardio levels up. But now you can get that same kind of work in heavy Shark Tank rounds, heavy wrestling rounds, heavy sled rounds. So everybody's different on how they do it. Some people like to, I used to like to run just for my own visualization, mental toughness, and it was just something good and calming for me to know that I was ready and I liked running. Do I force guys to run? No, I much more prefer now stair sprints. I think stair sprints and sprint work is a lot more important. That needs to be there. Running's good though. I do recommend running, but I don't make guys run like I used to. But my junior fight team, when it's summertime, we're going to be outside running, 100%.
Are you a technology-based coach, right? So I always wear my heart rate monitor. I know what it is. I can check it any time of the day.
Yeah.
Right. I love seeing that. I love seeing where I am in the different zones. Okay. I'm very much so, but I find that people, and I was like this when I first got it, I was obsessed with it, too much so. Okay, I need to dial it back here. I need to go harder here. Right? Are you a technology-based coach on that aspect, or very old school? How do you feel today?
I'd say no. I'm not crazy technology-based. I believe that video review, watching yourself on videos is really good to see what you need to see, what you're looking like in sparring, see what you need to work on. But I'm not monitoring the heart rate or anything like that. I can for me, I think I can see it on the floor. We're going to do 3 2-minute rounds, pushing the sleds hard, 30 seconds on, 20 seconds on, 30 seconds on, 20 seconds off. I'm not that technology based. No, I'm not. Some people are. Some people are kind of taking it up. I think with nutrition, that's something that is very, very important now, that has a lot more education, fine detailing around, which is a huge portion of it. The weight cutting, the nutrition part of it. But for me, technology based into the training, not so much myself, no.
That was the next thing I wanted to ask you. First sleep, and then jump in on diet and weight cutting here. How important is sleep, and how important is getting the right amount of sleep?
I think it's huge, to be honest with you. I think it's just as like a lot of the times in camps when I got guys that show up and I can just see that they're wearing down. That's again, I'm not watching any monitor or anything like that, but if I can physically see they're draining and they need rest, I'll tell them to take a rest day, right? Like I do that all the time with my guys. I'm like, hey, you look like shit. Let's take a couple days off or a day off. Let's come back fresh. But sorry, what was that question again?
Just sleep and the importance of sleep.
Huge. I think sleep and recovery is just as important as the hard, proper training.
And then the next thing, diet. You kind of touched on nutrition there, right?
Yeah.
I mean, do you have a preferred macros? Do you have a preferred micros? You know, would you recommend people get a diet person or
I recommend talking to, there's a lot of people now, like where we'll direct people to the actual people that are professionals in that trade. Like go see Larissa or go see Maddie Spesh or see those guys that literally cater to, that is their realm of expertise. Go to somebody that's professional to help you with that. You know, I have my own things that I would do, but for the most part, talk to a professional, and we got them here if you need to talk to them.
And what would you do? You mentioned your things.
For me, my diets were like, I would fast a lot during my camp. So like I was big on fasting, so eating after 12 o'clock and then eating between 12 and 8, so to speak. Yep. But like just clean diet, like, you know, lots of fish, chicken, rice, vegetables, fruits, shakes, tons of water throughout the day. Electrolytes, all that kind of stuff, and just clean, lots of fruits, lots of veg, and dialing it off closer to fight camp.
What do you think about dairy?
Dairy?
Yeah,
I'm cool with dairy.
I've heard
yogurt.
Yeah.
Well, I do a lot of almond milk, I guess, if I was in fight camp. More almond milk. Like there's no cheese ever, so dairy wasn't a huge part of my diet when I was fighting.
Was that the extra fat?
Dairy was, I think the extra fat, it was more like lean stuff, like spinach, chicken, eggs. Never really had any dairy involved in my diet.
So I noticed for me, when I'm in a camp, if I have dairy, I feel sluggish. Like I feel like I'm missing a step. Like I'm almost a step.
Yeah, you know what? I've never really had too much dairy, and like yogurt would be about the only thing.
Good proper dairy as opposed to like the milk and the cream, and that's how I started drinking black coffee.
Yeah,
so that's how I started drinking black coffee.
Yeah, I love black coffee.
Boom, no more dairy. I don't feel like that anymore, right? And weight cutting, right? This is a huge thing now. Now it's people have it down to a science.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, what's your opinion on weight cutting in amateurs and pros? How much should people walk around at versus cut? Does that change versus age?
I think everybody's different. Yeah, age is a factor. Your body weight to start is a factor. Same day weigh-ins or day before weigh-ins are a big factor, right? In a same day weigh-in, if you weigh in at 4 o'clock and have to fight at 7 or 8, you know, how much weight can you cut healthily to still have a cardio and a gas tank to go? Yeah. If it's the day before weigh-in, I fully believe people should be cutting weight to have the max advantage that you can. So, you know, for me, like the pros, cut 10 pounds.
That's it.
Yeah, I think, everybody's different, right? All these adults can make up their own mind. We can kind of see where they're at. But like a guy like Ethan Herod, he's in camp training at 147. He'll weigh in and fight at 135. So 10 to 12 pounds, I think that's a healthy, manageable weight, in my opinion.
And does that change if they're heavier? You know, like in 185?
Yeah, if they're bigger bodies, they can cut a little bit more, right? But we've seen guys that have cut too much and then they gas in the fight, right? So, and like I said, my worst experience was when you gas in a fight, you could have done better. So it's like, that's why I'm like 10, 12 pounds, if you know what you're doing and you have a nutritionist hired that knows what they're doing, then, 10, 12 pounds is good for me. With kids, we just have our kids, like if they have to weigh in, it's like, hey, tighten up your diet a couple days out, skip breakfast that morning, lay off the water, weigh in. So they're not drastically cutting weight, but if it's 2 or 3 pounds where they could get to the top of another bracket, it pays dividend for sure.
How much do you think health factors into like weight cutting, right? So I've heard the brain gets dehydrated. It's one of the first thing that goes, right? And you go out and get punched.
I personally would like to see everything done kind of like they do with one FC, doing the hydration tests throughout camp. If everybody did that, I think that'd be the way to go, because then you have actual medical people checking to make sure you're not cutting too much weight and you're walking at a more proper weight. I'm cool with that. I think that'd be awesome if you did like, same day weigh-ins. I think that'd be awesome, but it's part of the game. It's part of the discipline too. Right?
Yes, and that was kind of the next thing. I mean, how much does weight actually play a factor in fighting? I mean, 10 pounds, people hear that And they think it's only 10 pounds.
Yeah, once you start going 10, 20 pounds, it's like, you know, wrestling with bigger guys, man. They're going to have more weight on you. They're going to hit harder. I think it pays dividend for sure, 100%.
Okay, I'll leave it at that then. Oh no, actually, let me ask you: any funny or interesting stories regarding weight cuts, maybe missing weight, anything like that?
You know what? I've never had anybody miss weight. All of my guys have been pretty dialed in. I've never had any issues myself cutting weight. I was always the same thing. I'd be 10 pounds, right? Walk around at 150, fight at 135 here and there. So yeah. No, never. I've never had any issues. No bad stories for me.
Okay. And so you kind of took me and us, I guess, as a podcast through the journey of the gym, your fight career, right? And all that's kind of changed quite a bit more recently with you now having a kid.
Yep.
Right? So first thing, how have your direct personal priorities changed with you having the kid?
Yeah. So, you know, grinding the gym out for the first, 10 years, let's say, it was like no life.
Yeah.
Like in the gym all day, every weekend, traveling to events on the weekend, you know, going to Thailand, flying here, flying there, coaching, teaching all day long. Whereas, you know, now once I had a kid, I'm like, I really want to be present in his life. I don't want to miss him growing up, and I want to make sure I can have a lot of time with him, which is part of the reason, like, as soon as I found out, like, Kara was pregnant, we were having a kid, I'm like, I decided to sell Port Perry and just go down to one gym to make sure I had more time for my family. You know, just, and here too, like, you know, we have amazing members that have, like, we've become friends with and talked to over the years, and, like, you know, with me and Kara running it, like, all the parents would come in and be like, you know, wait to have a kid, travel the world, do this, you know, do all this first. And we, like, listen to them. We're like, all right, yeah, let's travel the world first. Let's do all this. Then let's have a kid. Let's make sure our business is successful. Make sure we have a house, and then have a kid. And now people are like, you know, enjoy it. They grow up fast. Spend the time with them. And I'm just grateful that I've had such a good team and developed a bunch of coaches like yourself helping out at the 6 a.m.s and everybody else pitching in, where I've been able for this first year of his life to be able to be very present. But now that he's almost 1 year old, and we're going to get him ready to go into daycare and that kind of stuff, then, you know, now I can start getting back into the gym. So like this year I've been in the gym like every day this week, right? Or this month, this year, I've been every day. So, but it's very important for me to be present in his life. But having a kid, like, I also understand now how parents feel with their kids, how they can feel protective, and they want the best training for them. And like, I now feel how parents feel about their kids. So that's been a good eye opener. But yeah, lots is for sure changed.
Yeah, you kind of touched on it there with the, you know, kind of differences in the priorities in the gym now.
Yeah.
Right? Do you think there'll be maybe different priorities, focus more towards younger kids' classes? Maybe you switch the after-school program? What's happening with that?
Yeah, I brought back the Little Ninjas class once I had the kids. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to bring back the 3 and 4-year-old class. So I have that class going. That's bumping now. It's doing really good. Yeah. We really enjoy that. We're gonna adjust it just a little bit, like maybe make some of the classes a little longer, maybe add a couple more. So adding the 3 and 4-year-old class was definitely part of, like, hey, I want to have a class for my kid. And I think once he hits 2, I'm going to do a parent kid class for 2-year-olds. So it's like the parents have to train with the kids in that class, and I'll start teaching that. So yeah, there'll be some benefit to me having a kid and being able to have a gym where he can do things. But I also now look at, like, when I teach the kids or teach the coaches on how to teach the kids, I look at, like, how I would want my kid taught and what are some of the things I want him learning in those classes. So like those 3 and 4-year-old classes, fundamentals like bear crawls, somersaults, army crawls, how to fall properly. And I'm like, what would I be teaching him? And that's what we're going to teach here. So I think that's good value for our members, because I'm like, I'm literally going to create how they're going to train and what they're going to learn that I want to train my son in. And I think how the gym is going to change, I don't know if it's going to change that much, but like, I look at it like, I want to be able to put my kid in here, right? So I want to be able to put my kid in the best gym. So I want to make sure all my classes are running on a program that I'd want him in. So I think it's only going to benefit here, and that's kind of why I closed Port. I'm like, I'm going to go all in here, bring the coaches that I want here, create a system here so that my son can grow up through this gym. So yeah.
If you were to pick some qualities that you'd want your son to have when he's a little bit older, what qualities would you pick?
Hardworking.
Okay.
Disciplined, and I'd like to see some leadership skills out of him. I like him to be a little leader, maybe leading by example, but just polite, hardworking, disciplined kid.
How do you think you're going to instill those? Right. I mean, hardworking's tough to that's something I think you almost have to have, right?
Yeah, well, part of our plan too is we don't want to really spoil our kid.
Yeah.
So like even like this Christmas, like it was his first Christmas, he didn't really know what was going on, but like we've already talked, like if it's Christmas time, he's getting one present. Like we're gonna make him do chores. We're going to, and he's gonna see how hard like me and his mom work. But I think it's just gonna be one day at a time, parenting as we go. But like, we're going to teach him little things like as he goes up, like he'll get his little allowance. We're going to teach him how to budget early. I don't want him knowing I own the gym. And after he's like, I'm going to do the 2-year-old class to get that going. But I think once he hits like 3 or 4, like I do plan on taking my pictures out of the gym and just dropping him off in other classes, sitting in the parking lot and picking him up after class. How was your class? Letting him kind of go through the motions here. And then getting the feedback from all the other coaches. So
wow. So it sounds like you have a lot of trust in the coaching staff that you have.
Yeah.
Right? To just be able to, I mean, at least in the future, drop the kid off.
Yeah.
Not even stay in the facility and leave. You're trusting whoever coach or coaches that are part of that class.
Well, I got cameras too, so I can watch the cameras. Nobody needs to know that.
Right. How do you select coaches? How do you figure out who's a good fit for each class?
It's different, like, over the course of time, like, we'll have a lot of kids. You know how it's happening? Look at like a Dylan Majesty and Josh Mastrito.
Sure.
These kids started with me when they're 7, 8 years old. They work up, they become successful in competition, in training. Then they become teenagers and they're like, do I go work at Tim Hortons or do I see if B needs a job or if B's got a job for me?
Yeah.
And if I see that they got good energy, they're good with the kids, they're fun to be around, and they're passionate about what they teach, then I think they're a good fit. If they got passion, good work ethic, and they've come up here so I know who they are, that's how I'm kind of seeing our coaches become coaches. They're usually students that have grown up through the gym that then become coaches. They don't want to go work at Tim Hortons or McDonald's. They rather work here, and if they're a good fit like a Josh or a Dylan, then we bring them in.
So those are some great examples. If you had to design, blindly a coach, right? How would they act like? What qualities would they have? How would they present themselves to other people?
I think everybody's different. Everybody's got a different personality, right? Like Bubba's coaching style is going to be different from Colton's coaching style, which is going to be different from your coaching style, which is going to be different from my coaching style. I think you have to find where people like teaching and where they're good. And a lot of it's trial and error. Like with Larissa, like I didn't realize how good she would be with 3 and 4-year-olds, and she's like really good with the 3 and 4-year-olds. Whereas like Coach Josh, he wants to teach competitor kids. So it's like
smash.
I try to put people where they want to teach.
Yeah.
Because if you're somewhere where you don't want to teach, that energy is just gonna show, right? Which is like I love teaching kids. Lately, I've been loving teaching my kids' fight team, my little Muay Thai class. And I've been letting Larissa run with the 3 and 4-year-old class. So I think you have to put people where they want to teach. Like you like teaching boxing and you like being up at 6 a.m.
Oh, I don't like being up at 6 a.m.
I was gonna say, because not me. So, but you have to put people where they want to teach, I think.
Yeah. It's interesting that you describe so many different diversities in the gym, but you all kind of ring, everybody in on one line, right? The one objective that you have, right? How would you describe that objective of, really the master class of coaches, right?
We've done a ton of courses before, like you've been in them, where we bring Nick in, our consultant, and he does our training courses, our instructors training courses, and everybody kind of has a vision where I want to go. But I basically look at it like I'm just the captain of a big ship.
Yeah.
And there's departments and there's floors, and my job is just to make sure the ship's sailing in the right direction, avoid icebergs where I need to, adjust what needs to be adjusted on in every program, and put the right people in the right spots.
Yeah.
So that's basically where I'm finding my role now, is just, sailing in the right direction, making sure everybody's teaching where they want to teach and everything's going good, and just avoiding icebergs along the way.
I had Sid Vanderpool on. He actually brought this up, that everybody naturally has things that they're good at and they need to work on, right? What are some things that you think you're naturally good at, or you've developed to be naturally good at, and that you need to work on?
I think I'm good at I'm good at delegating, to be honest with you.
I think you're incredible at that.
Yeah,
just based off of what you just said, right?
Yeah, so I think I'm good at like having a vision and then executing it. Like a lot of people, will have a great idea, but they never like execute it. So if like I have a goal, I will write down how we're going to accomplish it and get it done step by step every day, and just kind of like really, really get it done and use my team where they're strong at. So I know like certain people are stronger at other things, so I will delegate that out so that things get done. So I think I'm good at that. And what do I need to work on is just making sure I come in a good mood and leaving my bad days at home, because this is a very energy draining job. Like teaching kids all day long, you can, by the end of the night, you can be pretty gassed. So I think just leaving any bad energy at home is probably one of the biggest things I need to work on. So I really try to, like, if I'm not in a good mood, or I don't want to come in and take it out on the kids. So that's probably one thing I need to work on.
Kind of touching on that here, I mean, how do you find you're able to wear different hats, right? So boss and coach and friend and mentor, role model. How are you able to wear those different hats with some and similar people?
It's hard. It's very hard. I do try. It's so hard because when you start, like, everybody I work with I like.
Yeah.
But you have to draw that fine line. So it's like, I have started, like, part of your like consulting and stuff like that is like really try to separate yourself and not hang out with your employees or your staff. Like, I do find that hard sometimes, but like wearing multiple hats, I'm just like, you just got to do it. I basically look at it like you got to be honest. Yeah. So if there's something that happens, I try to deal with things right away, not let them fester, and just be proactive and like deal with it right away and just be open and honest and get it out there. So there's nothing bruised. So usually you'll see here, like with me, like with any issues that happen, if something happens, I deal with it right away. Right. So.
Yes. And before you were doing these almost, I don't know what to call them, report cards or coach evaluation cards, right? Was it tough to pinpoint people's negatives? Because I'm sure the positives, most people like hearing positives about themselves. So was it tough to say the negatives when, you are a friend or you are?
It's very tough, but I think it's more constructive criticism.
Yeah.
And like when I did those, I would also start with myself. I'd be like, hey, this is what I need to work on. This is what I'm not good at. This is what I'm working on. This is what I'm great at. I'm like, and then I think this is where you're doing really good. This is what I appreciate you doing. This is what you do excellent. This is what I think you could do a little better of. And this is what you can, I think would make you a better coach. So I think just doing it like that, and also saying you're still a work in progress yourself, so they can relate to that.
Yeah. And one thing I've noticed with you, I mean, I know I'm like this. I'm not very good at taking compliments, right? People tell me compliments, I almost like shuck them away, right? So I'm trying to be better with that. But I've also noticed that with you, right? Whenever Bruckman or Matt Embry or Barry, they all speak about you, it's very compliment driven. And you look around, you're almost hiding in the corner somewhere, right? First off, why do you think that is? I mean, do you think that's true?
I don't like to be like, even like doing this podcast, like I don't like to like have myself out there. And there's a lot of times like, I like to, it's funny, I like to say like I'm like the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Like I like to be behind the scenes, manage it all, let everything run, make sure it's running good. And it was the same thing. We said that because it was the Durham Fight Series event, the pro show we threw at the whatchamacallit, the Tribute Community Center. Remember they had the big curtain, I'm just standing behind there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I feel like the Wizard of Oz. Like this was our plan. We put it all together. We've got all of our fighters fighting on the same show. Everybody's here, but like I didn't want anybody to know like it was my event, even though we promoted it behind the scenes. But like same thing here. Like I don't need the clout. I don't need I don't really like having my face out there. I like seeing everybody else successful and happy, and the gym's running smooth, so I'm happy and I can go home to my family, and I'm happy with that. I don't need the public shout outs.
So do you think it's because you already have confidence? You don't need the boost of confidence like some people have?
Yeah, like hey, anybody appreciates a good compliment, but like I don't like it doesn't affect me at all if I'm not given props or anything like that.
Would you say you're a confident person?
I'd say I'm confident.
How do you think people build confidence?
They build confidence. Well, that's a great question. How do people build confidence? I just think it's, I've failed a lot, I've struggled a lot and overcame it, and I think now I know that I can kind of weather any storm because I've been through so many shit storms that like anytime something happens, I'm just more calm, cool, and collected. And I think it's just not getting rattled anymore when things happen, because I've been through so much that now I could just like, just calm, cool, and collected. And if you call that confidence, then, and I've been there, done that. I feel like I've done the fighting. I've ran a successful gym. Everything's going good in my life right now, knock on wood. And so I'm just happy.
Okay. All right. Interesting. It was a bit of a sidestep there, but I like it too. Yeah. Essentially building confidence through experiences, right?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I don't exactly know how people become confident. Like, fuck. How do you become confident? That's a hard one. I don't know how to answer that.
I mean, if you were to do something you haven't done before, right? Would you have the confidence to be able to do it?
Yeah, I try anything. Maybe I'm confident because I'm not scared to fail.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm more confident in my life because I'm not scared to fail. I think if you're scared to fail, you'll lack confidence. Does that make sense? So
it does.
I'm not scared to be embarrassed.
Yeah.
And I've also always been a coach, or that, like, I know I don't know everything.
Yeah.
So it's like I've never claimed that I do know everything or I'm the best at everything. It's like I think I get more confidence because I'm not afraid to be like, hey, what would you do here? Or how would you adjust this? Or how would you fix this? Or Embry, how do you get out of the crossface in the clinch? Like I do this, but like, what do you do? Can you show some other things? So I think not being afraid to let people know you don't know everything it helps, and not being scared to fail or look like you don't have the answer. Right? And I learned that from Bruckman a lot too. When you watch Bruckman teach, be like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
Or be like, here, let me try. Let me see what I would do. Right? So I'm like, you don't have to be a coach like, I know everything. I'm the best. I know, no, I'm like, we're all human. Yeah. We're all going to work together. We're going to operate as a team. If I don't know something, somebody else, we're going to work together and figure it out. And I think it's just, not being scared to look stupid and not being scared to fail is probably what has helped my confidence, I guess. Yeah.
I've noticed a big thing whenever somebody's in a leadership role, whether it's a podcast or it's coaching or leading class or a small team, anything like that, if you have somebody who looks like they're not confident, whether they are or not, they look like they're not, you don't want to follow that person.
Yeah, no,
right?
for sure.
You almost have to, fake it till you have it. But I don't like that fake it till you make it, because I don't think that's really true. I think a lot of people don't get that last part. They just fake it and then become fake, right?
Yeah, I guess you could just call it like being authentic, like just being me. It is what it is.
Yeah. I love that. Now, a lot of kids believe that they would call you one of their role models, right? I think a lot of adults here would too as well. Me being one of them. But I'm curious to know, growing up, we'll start with growing up and then we'll transition to where you are now. Who are some role models that you had in your life?
Probably my dad, for sure, because my dad was always supportive of me, always provided, worked hard. So my dad was my number one role model for sure. I got the best dad ever. You've met my dad and seen him train. He's still training to this day. Yeah. So he was probably my number one role model. And then other role models after that would probably be more like my coaches. Like Nick Castiglia was one of my biggest role models. And then obviously meeting Bruckman was one of my role models. So it'd probably be my three guys. My dad, Bruckman, Nick Castiglia.
All right. I love it. And now, do you think those role models are the same now, or have they changed? Have they grown?
Yeah, I think, I do have different role models now, like other people that I'm looking up to that are more like in the direction now I see my life heading. Like watching like Mortgage Matt. Yeah. I'm looking up to Mortgage Matt, like watching how he's doing things and how he hustles, and he's getting into real estate and doing all this. So yeah, there's other people that as you grow, you look at them to see what they're doing. So yeah.
Now I want to ask you the story of Bruckman, but before that, I want to kind of get some tips on how to pick correct role models, because I've definitely been someone who I thought would be a good role model, and it turns out that there's somebody who they've been a role model in a different way of somebody who I don't want to be rather than who I want to be.
Yeah, for sure. I think just looking up to pick a role model, it has to be somebody you want to be like. Yeah. That's a role model. Like, who do you want to be like? Like, I want to be like that guy. Yeah. Right? And it was like when I met Nick, I'm like, I want to be like that guy. Yeah. When I saw Bruckman, I'm like, fuck, this is cool. Like, I'd love to have a gym like this and be that guy. That's fucking awesome. Yeah. And my dad, he was the same thing. Worked hard. He could do everything. He was strong. He was fighting, doing tournaments, working, making money. I'm like, I want to be like that guy. Yeah. Right? So I think it's just like looking up to someone you want to be like. That's how you pick a role model. Like, if you want to be like that, that's your role model.
Yeah. And have you ever heard the saying, don't meet your role models?
Don't meet them?
Yeah.
No, I never heard that.
Oh, I've heard that quite a bit, and I was curious. I was kind of curious because it's more so with people who I think are like, a lot of people say Muhammad Ali, right? Or you get maybe Mike Tyson was one, right? And then at the time, maybe if Mike Tyson was a role model to you, and you find out some of the stuff he did later on, and you meet them, and maybe they're just like a complete a-hole, or they're a complete not a good person, right? Yeah. It's like if you never met them, you see them in this glistening, beautiful light. Yeah. And then when you meet them, they're not the person you want, and now they turn into like this evil.
Yeah, I can see that happening, and then you just got to change your path on who else you're going to look up to. But I've never had that issue. I've always learned so much from the guys that I've looked up to that I've never had that.
Yeah. Okay. Now tell me the story about how you met Bruckman, how that whole thing came about, because you guys are awfully tight.
Yeah. Right? Got choked out in a fight. Relied on my striking and my judo for a long time, and it was winning. And then they're like, "Oh, let's give him this jiu-jitsu guy." I got choked out, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna start training some jiu-jitsu." And then went and popped my head into Bruckman's gym and went from there.
That was it. That was the story how you guys met.
That's it.
How did you guys grow the relationship you have?
I think I went in there, put my head down, worked hard. Just like training, and I think we're in the same kind of industry, so we kind of had the same kind of stories, and we kind of knew what we're both going through, and I think it was easy to kind of relate to each other, that we both kind of lived the same kind of lifestyle. And he probably, I think, looked at me like I was just like 10 years behind him, and this is the next generation coming up. Just like, Josh Pistrito is going to open a gym one day, and he'll be 10 years behind me, so I know exactly what he's going to go through and all the stresses that are going to come with it. So he took me under his wing and just helped me out.
Now I want to touch on Josh and other people in the gym opening up future gyms, but before we do that, I kind of want to touch on how we met. So okay. I don't even know if you remember how we met.
How did we meet?
So it was funny. My dad, I guess he had Joshua this week or something, right? And it was some story. It said local fighter wins something. It was you, right? It was a story about you. Yeah. I was young. This was probably 2012, 11, 13, I don't know, right? I wasn't training at that time. I was in hockey. And he goes, "Oh, maybe you should try it out. You're a bit of a violent kid. You like to hit things and stuff, right?" And I was just like, nah, not for me. I could never do that. Yeah. Right. And then years later, I'm in Bruckman's, and I didn't even know it was you at the time until later on. I found a picture of the article. I'm like, oh, that's crazy. That was you, right? Okay. And so I saw you Tuesdays and Thursdays. I think you taught. It was the 9 or 10 a.m. Muay Thai class at Bruckman's. Yeah. Right. And I was skipping college
to come to it.
To go there. Yeah.
Did you enjoy the class?
Yeah, so for a while, it was only like me and one other guy, two other guys, like 3 people, right? And I remember one time I asked Brooke, and I'm like, you're gonna keep this going, right? Because I knew at this point I was failing those classes, right? I was like, I was kind of banking. I'm like, if you shut these classes off, I don't know what I'm telling, my uncles and stuff, right? And he's like, oh, we'll keep it going, right? Yeah. And then I eventually found you, and I think you invited me out to come do some sparring, and I joined you that way, right?
Awesome,
but that was
awesome. Well, we're glad to have you, man. You've been doing an awesome job here, and you're a huge part of the team.
Thank you. Now, I want to talk a bit about loyalty, right? Because you just mentioned Josh potentially opening up a gym, right? I know there's been other people that may want to open up their gym in the future, right? What does that mean for you, knowing you're going to lose somebody, but almost build the community?
Yeah, I think with a kid like Josh, because he's come to me and talked to me about his goal, I want to help him do it, and seeing if I can see Josh go up and come through the ranks and learn everything from here and then end up opening his own gym, for me, that's success, right? If he can do it. I also know how hard it is, so you gotta hustle. But if there's anybody that could do it, it'll be a Josh Pistrito for sure. He's got the work ethic, the hustle, the grind, and he really listens to us and me on things that have to happen and why they happen. So I think Josh would be able to do it. For me, it'd be huge if Josh could go open a gym. I think that'd be awesome for him. Doesn't affect me whatsoever. People are going to go where they want to go. As for loyalty, I've done my job if Josh can open a successful school and make his own students. And there's so much. Once you get to where I'm at, from way before, there's so much to go around. the pie is so big. So just do a good job where you are, and people are going to go where they want to go and where they best see fit for themselves. Every gym has a different culture. Every gym has a different vibe. Josh's vibe will be an Italian vibe, I'm sure. Like, who knows? But like, every vibe will be different and good, and you can always work together, and there's plenty to go around, right? So, like, our plan with Josh is I'd like to see him open in Curtis. Because Curtis is growing, Bowmanville's growing, and like, man, I'm not ever too worried about competition. Like, have you driven around Bowmanville, north or south of here? It's like, it is growing.
Houses everywhere.
I could probably do 2 gyms in Bowmanville. So like, I'm super happy where I'm at. Everything's good. So loyalty, it's all good, man.
You've always been someone that I've known to be big on loyalty, right? Even with Bruckman, even with the way you spoke about not opening out of respect for the other gym, I feel like that's also a factor of loyalty as well. Yeah,
like, man, I'm loyal to anybody that's loyal to me. Like, you know, if you're loyal to me, I'm loyal to you. But I'm also very cold with, like, I'm very like, I got to get better at it, and my wife says I have to get better at it, but like, I'm so busy now and there's so much going on where it's like, if I get one wrong shade or one wrong move against me, I'm not going to do anything. I just cut you out, and then just focus on those that I keep my circle tight. I keep my people around me that I trust, and if they're loyal to me, I'm loyal to them. That's it.
Yeah. And what about coaches leaving? I mean, there's one coach in particular I was thinking of, and I don't mind bringing up the name. They're pretty cool about it. But just coaches leaving based on different circumstances, whether that be they feel like they're being mistreated or they feel, you know, anything like that. What's your opinion on that?
Like who?
Well, in this case, I was talking about Goran.
Goran, that's a tough one. Goran, what happened there? Like, Goran got injured. Yes. He had a knee injury, and he was very upset, from what I hear, that nobody reached out to him to find out how he was doing, right? And I thought they were just going through family stuff because he would wait out in the parking lot and not want to come in. So I'm like, okay, maybe he's just going through some family stuff, or maybe something's going on at home. But he was really upset that nobody like really called to check on him. Yeah. And, you know, he took it the wrong way, but, you know, there's only so much I can do. We cared for him. The door was always open, and, you know, it sucks to see him go, but, you know, people got to move on and go, you know, they might feel one way, and, you know, it wasn't intentional on the other side. Yeah.
I mean, how are you with doors opening back up? Right? I mean, if that conversation ever comes up, and not just Goran, but anybody else in the future, and I'm probably mentioning some names right next that that might change. But, you know, even when it comes to fighters, right? There's 2 fighters, you know, I'll say their name, you know, Riley and Savannah Foden, that I've heard rumors about how they've left. I heard it from different people. You know, first off, what's the story with them on your end of it?
Yeah, 2 top awesome fighters. Great athletes. I think what happened there for me was more or less like, their parents are very, very involved with them and the managing of them, and love the kids, man. I got nothing bad to say about Riley and Savannah. They're awesome kids, 2 of the most skilled natural athletes I've ever had come through here. But you can, for me, you can kind of see a pattern. Like, they were at another good gym where they did a really good job, but the parents had issues there. Then they came here, kids were doing great, everything was good, parents had issues. So it's kind of like, right? But I think for them, it kind of came down to, you know, they had so much success here, so much success, that at one point, IFMA, the 2 people running IFMA, started reaching out to them, and then they were getting fights without talking to me. So for me, I was just, again, okay, cool, do your thing. I'll focus on these guys. So I just started focusing on everybody else. I'm like, if you're getting on fights on your own and not talking to me about it or giving me the okay, then on your own. So I think they started really seeing that they weren't my focus anymore. And I would focus on those that were like, hey, Kruby, what can I do? I'm thinking about this fight, that fight. Not just taking fights or getting fights without talking to me. So once that happened, they could still train in all the classes like any other member, but they weren't getting my, oh yeah, I'm here for you, let's hold pads, I'm gonna hold pads, I'm gonna hold pads with these guys. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of what happened there. And you know, I don't know if they're fighting anymore, if they've continued fighting or retired, but yeah, when they were here, loved those kids.
And I know the gym has, maybe it's a tradition or whatever it was of, you know, if you win a belt, the belt goes on the wall. That's almost like a gym belt, right? First off, where does that come from?
You know what? It comes from, because anytime you put a belt up on the wall, when we first started, it was like there was so much of the team around it. Like the first couple belts that we got back in the day was Ethan Cook. I think he was one of the first ones.
Yeah.
We had to go around bottle driving to raise money to go to Florida. The whole team came together to fundraise for him. Everybody's there training pads, working for him. So we looked at it like when a fighter wins a belt, it was the whole entire team that came together to put it up on the wall. I've stopped doing that. Because Riley and Savannah, they had a ton of belts on the wall. And Bubba called me one night and he was just like, hey, Riley and Savannah are in here taking the belts off the wall. And the cameras were on at the time. And I remember they were taking their belts off the wall, middle of the night, nobody here. And their parents showed up. It was like their parents showed up the side door. They put the belts in the back of the car and they left. And then I just remember watching them take a picture laughing at how little belts there were left on the wall. And I'm like, okay. All right, that's how that's gonna go. That was so for me. I was just like that kind of showed me their side. After all was done, and then they kept training in the gym. And I'm just like, I just rearranged the belts. Let them keep training. They didn't ask. They didn't want to say anything. So I kind of got to see that side. So I kind of let them just move themselves out. Did I kick them out? No. I just let them continue training, doing their own thing, focusing on everybody else, and not even making it a real issue. But now, if people want to put their belt up on the wall, they can put it up on the wall. If they want to keep it at home, they can keep it at home.
Did that start with you? Like, were you winning belts and you went back to where it was a wham?
I put a bunch of my belts up there, and then when Ethan got one, then we just started collecting them. Right. So here we are.
And that was kind of my next question here. You know, if a fighter retires or they're done competition, right? Is it part of that tradition to take the belt off the wall? Do they leave it there?
For what do you mean, like?
For if you say I win a belt,
right,
and I put it on the wall, and you know I'm done competing, or you know,
for a short time.
So do I take it off? Do I leave it off? What's the tradition?
I'm gonna say, like what I tell guys now, I'm like, you want to keep your belt, keep it at home. If you want to put it up here and leave it in the gym, you can put it up here and leave it in the gym. And when you come back, you'll always be able to look up and see that it's there. So it's like Ethan Cook came in the other day with his dad. They were doing some welding of the bags. And Ethan comes in with his girlfriend, and I'm like, those are Ethan's belts up there. So he was kind of like, So it's kind of cool to come in and, you know, some of the guys are bringing their kids in now, being like, that's Daddy's belt up there, right? So that's kind of cool. But I let guys keep their belts now. Like, if they want to keep their belts, it's all good.
Okay, and I want to know about this IFMA travel story. Right?
IFMA travel, which one?
There was a couple, but Team Canada, I think there was quite a few members. You were a coach of the gym. Right? I think it was Bubba, Peyton, Riley, Savannah, might have been Logan as well. I'm not sure about Logan at the time. He might have been too young.
No, too young.
But, you know, you guys went off to Thailand, right? What was the story behind that?
Of going to Thailand?
Going to Thailand. It was Ethan Cook was there too, right?
What, you guys eating scorpions or getting
all of it? I want to hear all of it.
Yeah. So we did. I was one of the coaches for the Team Canada that year. We went to Thailand. We all had a house together. We all. I don't exactly know what story you're talking about, to be honest with you. Nothing really happened in Thailand. It stays in Thailand? I guess? I don't know. I was there with a bunch of kids. Sure. Nothing really happened. Maybe I'll tell you off camera. Okay.
Sounds good. And one more story I want to know about. I don't know if it was IKF or Atlanta or what it was, but there was a shooter, and I think it was a restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Talk to me about that instance, and I heard that you had a very big role in how the safety of the team went.
Yeah. So IKF East Coast Classic, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, we had a team of 12 fighters, and that was one of our best tournaments ever. We did. I think we went like 11-0 or 11-1. We had like one fight that we lost, and then so we were celebrating, like a long weekend, lots of fights. We did amazing. Everybody was winning. That was the same night Conor McGregor was fighting Khabib.
Oh wow!
Okay, in the fight where he jumped over the cage after, and the whole melee happened.
Yes.
So we get to this bar after all the fights. We jump in the back of a pickup. We're literally driving downtown in the back of a pickup. We all get to this bar, but it's rammed because it's that big UFC that everybody was excited for. And then all they had open was this private VIP room, which was a step down. Yeah, it was a step down. It's this private little area, but the bar was rammed. But you had to pay for it. And I'm like, oh man, I really want to see this fight. I'm like, you know what? I'm on a high. The team did amazing. I'm like, how much?
Yeah.
They told me the price. I'm like, here, I'm going to take my whole team up, treat them, get them this VIP room. So we're in like this little lower level here that had this own private big screen, and there's this huge bar up top. And then one of our members, this was literally right in the main event, was walking through the bar, bumped somebody. That guy bumped somebody else, and this melee ended up happening. A guy pulled out a gun, boom, shot the guy, shot him right in the head in the middle of the bar. So next thing you know, panic starts happening. We hit the floor. Everybody's got the chairs over them. Parents are with their kids.
Wow.
Right? Like we had some like...
How many people were there?
Oh, we probably had a crew of like 25 of us, I would say.
Okay.
So we all hit the floor. Everyone's hiding behind their chairs. Everybody's running and like scattering, right?
Yeah.
So I just remember it was me, Nick Cam Basis, and I think it was Bubba. And we're just like, okay, let's gather everybody up. Let's everybody exit down here. We just got everybody together, but like parents were crying. People were like losing their minds. And we were just trying to keep everybody calm, like exiting them properly. But that was a crazy, crazy night.
Wow.
Crazy night.
You guys saw somebody get shot point blank in the head.
I didn't see it, but one of the dads that was there saw it.
Wow.
Yeah. But apparently, after we read the articles on it, like months after, it was a planned hit. So I guess this guy was going to jail anyway for some other murder charge, and they were looking for him, and this was another witness he was trying to take out. So it was already set to happen, but just how it happened, like a bump, like, and then it went down. It was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a fight. That was one to remember for sure.
Yeah. And now you talked about Nick at the beginning. We kind of, we took a break from it here. Yep. So, I mean, how much of an impact did Nick have in the way that you run your events, right? Whether this be in-houses or all the way up to, I think it was Rec, and then it turned into all these different names, right?
Yep.
Was Nick the front runner? Did he help you, show you the ropes?
Yeah, Nick was always one of my partners on throwing the sanctioned events. We were throwing in-houses all the time and doing that kind of stuff. But Nick would always guide me on how to run a successful show, how to do them. But like same thing here, like I just like to put effort into it. I like having a local event here where guys can develop. I think it's fun for the team. It's good morale. And you just got to put a little effort into doing it to make it like a good night out for people, right? I've been to other in-houses before where they charge $20 and it's just a gong show, right? It's not on time. For me, I'm like, it's on time. I'll get 30 fights done in 2 hours. Like everything's clean, boom, organized, like just executed properly.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed, just because I've been to so many different events in different fashions, is that even the sanctioned events, a lot of them are run better than pro events.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Not only in the time, but in the setup and the way that the lights are, the music, the announcers, the tables, the VIPs, everything just feels like you're there.
Appreciate
how much of that went into doing this pro event now, right?
Yeah, that pro event was so much work and so hard. Like it was, because that was the first ever one in Oshawa, right? Or east of Toronto, even before you go to Belleville, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Has Belleville had one? Belleville's had one?
Kingston had one.
Yeah, so that was like the first one between Toronto and Kingston, really, right? Yeah. That was a lot of work, more than we anticipated, a lot of trial and error. And a lot of things we had to learn along the ways. But just doing anything in Ontario, especially with the Ontario Athletic Commission, it was so challenging. And then there was just like little things like bringing the Mexicans down, getting their medicals done. Okay, we got their medicals done. No, they need to be translated by a certified translator, and then everything's stamped and then set in and approved. And some of their records didn't match up, so then they'd have their fights canceled. Then organizing all their flights to come in, their hotels, their travel. It was just so much work from top to bottom. Like it was a rewarding night for anybody that went. I think it was like, wow, good night. We will do one again, but both Brad and myself had kids this past year. Yep. So we're like, this will be the first year they're both 1 year old. Let's just ride out this year and we'll do another one next year.
Okay, you answered that question. When's the next one? So you just answered that
2025.
one. What's your opinion and how can we fix the amateur MMA scene in Ontario?
How can you fix the amateur MMA scene? Move to Texas. Ontario sucks.
Yeah.
Canada, I love Canada, but the rules and regulations and the restrictions for safety, it's impossible. Like it's so hard to. Did you watch the last UFC in Toronto?
Yeah.
How did Canada do? We got smoked from top to bottom. And I think it just starts at the ground roots level and the opportunity. Like if you go down to the States, like they're wrestling in elementary school, wrestling in high school, scholarships for wrestling. Fights can happen all the time. Limited medicals, limited paperwork and blood work to be able to get amateur fights, pro fights. It's so much easier and less restriction where like here it's impossible. Yeah. It's so hard, and amateur MMA is still illegal here. We can't do amateur MMA.
Yeah.
So, you know, we have to, the thing is financially, like we got to travel to Quebec, the States. It's like, it's hard for Ontario fighters to get that good.
And how, I mean, as a coach, how do you develop these fighters? I mean, I know you mentioned a lot of times it's in-houses, you know, against your own guys.
Yeah, in-houses, and we travel a lot. Like we do travel a lot. Like we have to go here, go there. Like when the COVID lockdown happened, we flew the guys that were active. Boom, we go to Texas and we train down there for 2-3 months. You got to be creative, and you gotta make it work.
Yeah, that was actually the next thing I wanted to talk about. Was kind of how did the COVID whole, whatever you want, pandemic, I guess, affect the gym and you and the members in it?
Yeah, that was a hard time. You know, I'm very grateful that we have had an amazing amount of members that wanted to support us as a local small business and keep us alive. There was more than you would think that were like, you know what, keep paying. We want to support you guys. We want to see you guys open and survive this. But however, yeah, there was on the other side. I remember when it first happened, we set up a table here, just answer the phone, cancel. I remember we had like 150 cancels, and I was like, holy shit. Yeah. Like this is it. And then there was part of me too that wanted to take care of all my coaches and staff. Yeah. So making sure they're working. So it's like quickly it was like, okay, transition to online, give the online classes going, get them going. So we pumped that out for a bit. That was good. But like it was a hard time, man. It was like, you know, we had a girl next door here that was running, doing a private clinic there, like personal training and all that kind of stuff. And she was training clients. We had personals going on that we thought were okay. She was calling the cops saying there's people in here, we're teaching online. Like it was just, people were so divided, right? Like I kept my opinion offline. I kept my opinion to myself. We ran things here the way we were supposed to run them, went to online, did that. But like it was devastating, man. Like you saw Bruckman closed his gym during that time. You saw what was the other boxing gym? Motor City Boxing. Yeah. Like so many gyms that have been around for years that were the established like titans, like ended up being like boom, boom, boom. Like I don't know how I did it. I think I just had a little bit of youth and like I didn't want to fail. That I'm like I had no second. What else am I gonna do? Like this is it.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Yeah, I mean that's actually a good question. I should have asked you back then. You know, when you were starting the gym, did you have a backup plan?
None.
No, eh? All in.
All in.
And you used to be a big drummer.
Yeah. I used to play drums. Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Do you still play? You still pitter around? Why'd you stop?
I sold my kit when Kara was pregnant. So yeah, I used to play back in the day. I used to play in a band, a couple bands back in the day, and won Battle of the Bands one year.
I heard you were good. So
yeah, I used to love to play. Like I'd love to play again. Maybe if Sebastian wants to play, maybe I'll start playing with him. But it's just time and having the baby. I'm like, I can't have a kit in the house anymore. But maybe I'll maybe we'll start in a couple of years. We'll see.
No drum kit in the office?
No drum kit here. I'd be kicked out in a heartbeat.
And then kind of, you know, as we move towards the end of it, I want to know what kind of gyms, allies, maybe competitors that you see along the landscape of Ontario, right? So I know you said prior that a big one that is almost always competitive with you is pound for pound, right? Is Bazooka Joe. Like what kind of gyms are you allies and competitors with?
Allies with? Well, like the Rebel Alliance, like with the
Muay Thai,
big country, like gyms we get along with?
Sure, but I mean, those are also one of our top competitors though too, right? Like as much as, you know, there's no hardships against Muay Thai Whippy, we often face them in competition. Yeah.
So you're talking about like who I find is the biggest top gyms out there right now?
You can start with that, yeah, it's a good one.
On the Muay Thai scene or MMA scene?
Both.
Well, if you're not with us, you're against us, so everybody's the enemy.
Okay.
I don't know, does that make sense?
Yeah, let me ask you this, and if you're building, let's just say a local show, whether that be in-house or it be sanctioned, right? What gyms are you inviting to come onto your show?
I'll invite any gym that wants to come take part. Anybody. Yeah, when it comes to throwing shows, I'm able to separate that. Like anybody that wants to come is welcome to come and fight and put on a show. That's the promoter hat that I wear. I'll let anybody come and take part in that, right? I haven't really banned anybody.
And then I guess...
Do they send their names in for fights? Not all gyms do, but some gyms do. But it's I'll open it up. If they send a name in and want to get matched up, I'll try to match them up. Yeah, but like competition, yeah, I guess we compete with everybody. So it's like, I don't really have any enemy gyms. I usually get along for the most part with most people and everybody. There's going to be the odd little thing that happens here and there, but for the most part, I get along with everybody.
Yeah, and I kind of want to talk about matchmaking, right? As the promoter aspect of it.
Yeah.
How do you pick fair, adequate matchmaking that you're not too good, you're not too disadvantaged?
That comes down to the coaches. I think it comes down to the coaches. The coaches got to know their athletes and then be able to communicate that with the other coaches who know their athletes and can communicate and be honest with each other. And that's what it comes down to for me. So it's like if I talk to Rob or talk to whoever, it's like, hey, I got this guy. He's kind of like this. He measures up against this guy pretty good. So where do you think that measures? This is how many fights they have. So it's just communicating with other coaches and being honest.
I was going to say, it's a lot of trust and honesty to go into the health of the fighters.
Yep, 100%.
Right? How do you deal with somebody you've never worked with before?
Yeah, just like we'll see. Like, and then again, only putting people into the ring that are ready. So when guys develop or they're in the development stage, I usually have them only spar or fight in an in-house here with people that are here. Because that way we know it's going to be a fair fight, so it's not like a complete mismatch where it's like, oh, yeah, I got this person, they've never fought before, and they come in and they're just like, whoa, way too better. Whereas like when they first start developing, kind of like even with you when we gave you a couple, I'm like, hey, I think you and Darren would be a great match. So then when you and Darren Stainthorpe went, he's had like 30 fights. Yeah. You'd had like no fights. So we're like, but we saw you guys in the gym. I'm like, I think this will be a good scrap. And a lot of people think you won that fight.
Yeah, you know what? It's neither here nor there. It doesn't matter.
So there was a lot of people that were like, you know what? I think Dylan Burrows, because we were obviously talking to Rob about matching you up against Travis Gallagher for the next show coming up in Whitby.
Yep.
April 20th, you'll be fighting Travis Gallagher.
Yep.
Because it was one of those we were talking about yesterday. We were like, man, like Dylan's not going to be an easy fight.
Yep.
And we were going over that. We're like, man, he went toe to toe, and a lot of people had him winning the fight versus Dylan Stainthorpe. So there's a measuring tool right there. So we're excited to watch you April 20th.
Thank you. That was actually the whole, because Darren and I think we fought 4 or 5 times. Right?
Yeah.
We fought plenty of times. And I think that was one of those cases. I think we fought too much.
Yeah. Because,
there was a just amount of fights. I think it was 2 or 3. We became really close. And we're like, we do match up well. Let's train together. We were running together. We were getting in really good shape. And we'd come in on off days and get work in and, do everything like that. And then after we fought a couple more times, then there was a bit of, friction, let's just say that, right? And then it was kind of like, I wouldn't say I disliked them, and I wouldn't say he disliked me, but there was a bit of that going on, and now I think we're cool again.
Yeah,
but
good.
I think it's one of those things, when you match somebody up so many times.
Yeah. But I think that's when you go back to the matchmaking, it's like I like to first develop guys that I know both fighters. So it's like I know this person, I know that person. Let's see how they do first before we fight somebody we don't know, so that I know they're ready. Yeah. Does that make sense?
I mean, I wouldn't I just don't want to fight people if they're good training partners and it doesn't turn out that way.
Yeah, well, you're now there where you're fighting guys you kind of know but you've never trained with. So now you're at that.
Yeah, and I respect Travis a lot too. So that's gonna be a fun.
That's gonna be a good
fight,
tilt,
right?
man.
I think
let's go, Dylan.
Respect, and we'll see, right? It's gonna be fun.
Yeah,
right.
I think so.
I love the whole process. Last one I got for you, and we'll jump into the closing questions here. MTO versus Wacko. Right.
Who would I pick?
No, just what was the dynamic? I know for a while we got away from MTO. We're back with them. Not sure if we're officially
I'm going to be signing back up with MTO, but I think with Waco, the reason. Okay, so Waco, just way better communication, way more events, way more gyms that are a part of it, so the fighter pool is bigger. It is kickboxing with K1 rules. I just find that they're way more organized. Their year of events is out way ahead of time, so it's easier to run a busy gym to be like, this is the events they have for the year. There's events happening every other week, training courses, this, that. So I find there's a lot more opportunity even at the world level right now.
Yep.
And I'm really happy with the organization and the leadership from Waco. And then Muay Thai Ontario, they've been kind of going up and down. They're kind of making a little bit of a comeback now. I do love Muay Thai. I like the rules of Muay Thai where you can elbow, where you can clinch a little bit more. So I am signing back up with MTO to give them another shot this year. I do like that they brought in Crew Lynn for some extra leadership. I really respect and support Crew Lynn. So now that he's kind of been more of a face and they kind of put him in there, I'm going to give them another shot. But I just wasn't happy with the leadership years ago with a couple of the guys involved. So I took a break, but now that Crew Lynn's back and kind of the guy, I'll be back.
What do you think about the point system in
Waco?
Yeah.
I love it. I think it's good. I think it's good because if it's ever going to be an Olympic sport, it needs to kind of have that.
Yes.
And once you know the rules, it's easier to train for it. So I like it. I like it for sure.
Versus
and if you don't like the points, knock your guy out.
Knock the guy out, right?
Like,
yeah.
You know, don't leave it to the judges.
Yeah, and that was kind of the next thing with the damage, right?
Yep.
Because damage and points, they can be very different, right? And
Yep.
sometimes I even notice, now it's not so much an amateur,
Yep.
it happens once in a while, but if someone gets a cut, say in the first round,
Yeah.
and all it takes is something small to open it back up, it looks like that damage just reaccumulated.
Yeah.
Versus if it's a point system, you don't have that, it's a point system.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, what do you think of the damage versus point system for?
From what I understand about the point system, like if there's a lot of damage, they give a couple extra points for it. You'd have to fill me in on that. I don't know, but I like the point system. I'm not gonna lie. I don't mind it, and I find if you're damaging your guy, just go ahead and finish him and get the win.
What do you think about open scoring for amateur, pros, MMA?
What do you mean
Muay Thai?
open scoring?
So like I think this would be super helpful for a point system like a Waco, where I can look over, coaches can look over, and they see, oh, it's 6-5 them.
Oh, yeah.
3-5,
they do that for IFMA. So IFMA, when we fought in Thailand, IFMA would have live scoring for the round.
Yeah.
So it would, after the first round's done, it would be like red corner.
Yeah.
I'll be like, hey, you're down one round. Better go out there and win the second round.
Yeah.
Second round, red corner. Then
Gotta
blue
knock
corner,
him out.
third round, you better knock him out or you're not winning the fight. I like that. I like that it's live, that the judges can't go back and change it. It's active, it's on the fly. And I think it'll make those fighters make adjustments. I think the third rounds are going to be crazy if you're down by 2. I think the game, I like that, to be honest with you. I think if you had live scoring and like, hey, who won round 1, right away, I think there's going to be a lot more shadiness. Imagine that in the UFC with all the 5-round close ones that are happening. If you knew who won that first round in those championship rounds going into the 5th round, that person is here instead of waiting till after, I think that'd be very cool.
Yeah, I think especially for a point system like a Waco, that would be super beneficial, right? I mean, there's so many split decisions.
Yeah.
And I think whenever there's something of so many things, like a split decision, you have to ask yourself why.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it's 1-2 is how people score things.
Yeah, I
think the way that I score things, the way Colin score things, although it's the same principle and we've been taught the same way and we both have the same amount of training, right? We score things differently.
Yeah.
Right? And so as a fighter, if the scoring's not the same judge to judge, again, it's similar, but 1 point can be the difference between winning and losing.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? Especially if there's so many split decisions. If I knew, okay, I'm down by 1 point. Okay, I'm down by 2 points. Oh, I can't even win this fight unless I knock my guy out.
Yeah.
I think it would be a completely different.
Yeah. I think we'll see what happens. There's good leadership in Waco. I think you just got to get everybody together and we just keep improving every year. And
trying to put the bug in their ear, but it doesn't seem to be working.
Yeah,
so
well, one day at a time.
I got 3 questions I ask every one of my guests.
Okay.
Right? First one, you've kind of answered it. I'll see if you sum it up or change it up. What 3 qualities do you possess that make you successful?
Yeah, hardworking, dedicated, and passionate.
Beautiful. If you could go back in time, what is something you would tell your younger self?
Don't do stupid shit.
What stupid shit did you do?
All of it.
What do you
name
mean?
it.
Drugs?
Everything.
Alcohol?
I know. I was never really into doing drugs. Like a little bit of weed here and there and stuff like that. But just listen to your parents. Your parents know what's best for you. When they give you advice, it's because they love you and they care for you, and to listen to them, and it's for your best interest for later in life.
Okay. I'm going to add another one on here. What's something you'd like to tell everyone that you meet?
You're loved. There you go.
Last one. What's something you do every day that you are proud of?
Every day that I'm proud of? Great question. What do I do every day that I'm proud of? That's a hard one. I show up for work. Every day.
Actually, I lied. There's one more thing that I meant.
Every day, one way or another, I'm always checking in on this business. Every single day. of my life.
Love it.
Even if I'm not here, there hasn't been a day where I'm not checking an email, finding out what's going on, or keeping up to date. There's never been a day in the entire time this gym's been open that I've never checked in to find out what's going on or what I can do, or checking in on something to do with this business.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I meant to ask you this. I didn't ask you it, so I want to ask you it now. Talk about the charitable work that you do, and also, and on top of that, Hurts for Martial Arts.
Yeah, so again, when we first started consulting, I would, if somebody came to the office, which happens every day, and somebody gives me a sob story, or they can't afford it, or this or that, I would let them train. Anybody that had a sob story of whatever they were going through, I'd be like, yeah, no problem, done. I got you. We'll figure it out later. Just get training. If you can't do it, just pay what you can. And then my wife's like, you got to pay the rent, right? So she kicked me out of the office, and she started running the office, and oh, you don't got money to train here? Sweet, go next door. You got to pay. But there was a bunch of deserving kids that could have actually used the help, that I didn't want to see miss out on opportunities. So that's why I decided to start not-for-profit charity to raise funds to support kids that actually need help, and that their stories are legit. Because you get other stories my kid, I don't have any money, my kid's in hockey, my kid's in this, and martial arts is so expensive. I'm like, well, they're in hockey, Dad. This is so expensive. I'm like, hey, that story is a waste of time. But then you get the other ones, their parents aren't involved in their life. I'm the grandparent. I'm the caregiver. They live with me. I have no money, but they want to train. So there's other stories that are legit. So I try to make sure we have a pool that can help deserving kids, and we have a bunch of them here. Yeah,
and there was a family that came right from Ukraine in the middle of the war, correct?
Yeah, we sponsored.
Was that in Port Perry? Was that here?
That was in Port Perry. So we got somebody sponsored up there from Ukraine, and we have now, I think to date, it was $30,000 we raised and put into. We got about 30 kids or something put in gyms across Ontario.
Wow.
So I wanted to make sure too, opening that charity, I wasn't just putting them here.
No.
We had Big Country, Whippy, Muay Thai, Limitless, Loyalist,
wow.
Circa Fit, Team DNA, Oshawa BJJ, Fernando's Gym, you name it. We've sent people everywhere, and changed a lot of lives. So.
And that's all in Ontario.
That's all in Ontario.
Do you think you'll expand that to Canada?
Baby steps, yeah. I think we will, because there's some other gyms that we want to hit and kind of help out if it works out. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what the future holds.
And last thing on that, is it a registered charity?
It's a not-for-profit.
Okay.
Yeah. So it is registered. It's a registered not-for-profit.
So does that mean when people donate, they get the little...
So charity and not-for-profit, there's two different things. So with a not-for-profit, we can't write receipts, taxable receipts, so you can write it off. It's a not-for-profit. Going to the charity route, there's a lot more work and a lot more headaches, but it's our not-for-profit, we're getting there. It's we got our board of directors, everything's kind of going. I'm happy with where that's at, but I also don't want to take on too much.
Yes.
Because I want to throw another Durham Fight Series pro show. I got the not-for-profit. I got the one gym. I'm that's good for me.
Beautiful. Where can people find you? Where can people find the gym? Get in contact, sign up.
Yeah, Kalsamrit.com. We're in Bowmanville, 182 Wellington Street, and everybody's welcome.
Perfect. Any questions for me?
What's your game plan for Travis, April 20th? Are we going to keep that private?
Any way possible.
Yeah, I'm super excited for that. You're going to be, I think, either main event or co-main event. April 20th hasn't been announced yet, but for those that watch this podcast, they're going to.
It'll still be a few weeks away.
Yeah, so. They're going to hear about it. So so
5 rounds, luck, 5 rounds for the title, right?
5 rounds for the title, man. I'm excited to watch you go. So get it done.
Beautiful.
Awesome.
Thank you, man.
Thanks, brother.